What's up everyone, Shirley here. Today I want to go over and talk about some of the exciting new things in the 9.2 PTR for warriors and classes just in general. But before that, really quick, I wanted to go over something in the last patch that you may have flown under the radar for some of you. I wanted to point out two conduits that got buffed and, how good they are right now in the current patch. First being the Merciless Bone Grinder conduit. If you've been sleeping on it, the one that buffs Whirlwind, give it a shot. I've been finding a lot of success with it in Mythic Plus, especially with the Kyrian Covenants and their Spear Legendary that buffs that. It's also pretty good for Night Fae as well. I just find that since you have to swap out conduits like Moral Combo and whatnot, that it aligns a little bit better with Mechanicos and Kyrian than it does Night Fae, just for a lot of trash damage anyway. It's not going to blow anything away on bosses right now. But on to the other one, it would be for the Venthyr Covenant, the Harrowing Punishment Conduit, that also saw a 50% buff. It doesn't change the meta of PvP warrior or PvE warriors at all. Excuse me, you're still going to be running Night Fae or Kyrian for most things. But for PvP, on the other hand, since it's getting buffed from enemies around you, yes, the range is still really small on it, but if there's a bunch of pets or you're in threes, you're actually getting a pretty big bonus off of it. So if you haven't tried it out with Venthyr yet, with Sweeping Strikes up especially, you can hit some really big condemns on a couple of targets. But anyway, getting on to the 9.2 stuff. First off, I want to point out two really cool new features coming in the next patch before we talk about the warrior tier sets bonus and the examples we can get into with that. But first off, two things here. The legendaries. We're getting the ability to equip two legendaries in the next patch, one being any of our choosing, and the second one being for the Covenant. And that is a little bit limiting for combinations, but we can go ahead and start to theorize what can set up and work well together. But one of the exciting things on that is we'll be able to craft this new legendary, which they're giving the example that it's a belt initially, that will automatically swap between all of the Covenant legendary powers, so we don't have to have 4 legendaries in our bags all the time, swapping that around, which is really nice. It also states that we'll get the ability to craft this on a different armor slot, but it doesn't say which armor slots, so it'd be really cool if we could equip that on any armor slot for two reasons. One, so we don't have to overwrite like current legendaries that we already have, and two, the fact that tier sets are coming back, and I assume that tier sets are once again going to be locked armor slots. So if we could put this on anything we wanted, that would make things a lot more flexible. But this is great, so we don't have to carry around a bunch. And the other thing they're doing is this new creation catalyst, which is basically bad luck protection for tier sets, at least if I'm understanding this correctly, which is great. Basically, if you get a piece of gear, I'll use the current example of 252, which is the highest gear you can get out of Mythic Plus in your vault at the end of the week, and it's not a tier set piece. Your chest piece is just a random piece from a dungeon. According to this, we'll be able to keep that around, and once we unlock this ability and save up enough of this new currency called Cosmic Flux here, that we'll go ahead and be able to turn that chest piece into a tier piece, which is great, so we can just build up our tier set hopefully quickly. I imagine that the Cosmic Flux itself is going to be time-gated in some way, so this will probably be a nice way to fill out the last piece or two of your tier set. But on top of that, this is transformed from PvP Mythic Plus or other Eternity's End content. Now, I'm not sure, but maybe this will be the first time in a long time that we'll actually be able to use the tier set bonus in PvP. That could be very interesting, especially if the two legendaries are still going to work in PvP, which I would assume so. Having two legendaries plus a tier set, plus whatever Covenant you're running and all the conduits, we could get into some really wacky combinations for PvP. So, let your mind go wild there, if it works out that way. We'll have to wait and see until the PTR comes up. But on to the next bit, the really exciting stuff. We got most of the tier set bonuses, or all of them I think at this point, data mined, and we're going to talk about the warrior ones today and just theorize a little bit here. First off, we're going to go over the protection one, the 2-piece. Consuming 30 rage grants a stack of outbursts. Upon reaching 8 stacks of outburst, your next shield slam or thunderclap are 200% more effective, or your next ignore pain is 50% more effective. And the fourth set is Avatar increases your damage dealt by an additional 10% and decreases damage taken by 10% and instantly grants 8 stacks of Outburst. So this is great. You could use this in 2 different ways, offensively or defensively, because instantly granting that huge ignore pain and 10% reduced damage, that's awesome. And you could also just pop this and, hit a big thunderclap to snap threats in like a dungeon, or shield slam a boss or something, or in PvP even if you're playing prot, but I wouldn't really recommend it. And onto the really spicy stuff that I'm more interested in, the DPS set bonuses, the Arms and Fury. The 2-piece Arms increases the duration of Colossus Smash and Warbreaker by 3 seconds, and the 4-piece every 75 rage consumed increases the effectiveness of your next Colossus Smash or Warbreaker by 2% up to 10%. So 75 times 5 basically is your rage management to get this up to a maximum 10% window. And before we go over the Fury stuff, we're going to talk about the Arm stuff for a little bit here, because this is my bread and butter. First off, if this set bonus itself stacks with our current best legendary being Enduring Blow here, that is huge. I don't know yet. I can't wait to try it out. I really hope it does, because if it doesn't, I feel like it could force a playstyle and a talent spec that I don't really want. But if it does stack with this Enduring Blow, that's insane. Every time this procs, we're getting 9 seconds of Colossus Smash, and all the rage that we're just passively using anyway will stack the damage of the 4-piece on top of that. So if that ends up being the case, what I imagine is going to happen is we're not going to worry too much about dumping maximum rage, for every window, because you'll naturally be proccing Colossus Smash, so it'll be impossible to, predict it every 45 seconds like your natural cooldown would be if it's affected by it. So this will just be a 2 to 10% damage buff every time you get a proc, on top of the 30% for 9 seconds. So our uptime with Colossus Smash, if it works with Enduring Blow, could be absolutely insane. And that also brings up some combinations, since we're going to be able to use 2 legendaries. So talking about the Covenant ones, Elysian Might for Kyrian doesn't, it's great, it's a great legendary, but it doesn't stack really in any way for that window for Colossus Smash. Neither does Nature's Fury. It's also good, but, we're getting an extra 3 seconds out of it, so maybe you can utilize that window a little bit better. It's decent. The one I really want to talk about, though, is Sinful Surge, which isn't that great. Venthyr definitely fell off, this patch for Arms, but if we can use Sinful Surge with the new tier set and Enduring Blow, and Condemn is extending that new, Colossus Smash, and there's no bug like, there was this last patch with how Colossus Smash extended and worked. If that extends on every single proc, Venthyr could make a comeback, depending on tuning, of course, and if they buff it or whatever. But that could be really good. Glory kind of synergizes well. Necrolord's not that great by itself. Obviously, in a party, it's good. But, the fact that you're spending rage to buff this anyway is going right hand in hand with the tier set bonus, so that could be pretty good to buff out. As far as conduits go, there's not... This is what I was running, by the way, for Mythic Plus right now, if you were curious. Ashen Juggernaut could be good, once again, with Venthyr, if that ends up being the go-to meta, but that's not anything that's really directly synergizing with, other than Mortal Combo, with the tier set just getting more and more Colossus Smash procs, because this is only going to go up as item level increases. It's not super inspiring. It doesn't really change up gameplay too much. In and of itself, if our current talent setup stays the same way. Before I forget about it, this every 75 rage thing consumed increases the damage. This could devolve the spec into something like we saw in BFA, going for like an in for the kill anger management build. I don't think Deadly Calm would synergize with this, since this is just removing the rage cost itself. But if this ends up being the meta, and it ends up being like a Test for Might again, just dumping as much rage as fast as possible because it's not buffing the legendary we're currently using, and it's just based on the initial Warbreaker, I wouldn't really be happy with that, but I highly doubt that'll be the case because Dreadnought is just too good and Avatar is too good. Dreadnought especially for padding out any kind of AoE situation. Maybe this would be the go-to in like a pure single target, but I doubt that'll be the case. Especially since conduits are scaling and Crash the Ramparts just gets better and better with Dreadnought. So I doubt that'll change much, but it is a possibility depending on tuning, of course. But anyway, moving back to the Fury stuff right now. Raging Blow doing more damage, gaining an additional charge, obviously good. Raging Blow has a 20% chance to grant Recklessness for 4 seconds. This is kind of nuts. We could get into a really good rhythm. Obviously, it'll be RNG, but you could go from, Raging Blow, into a Rampage, and if you're running the Hack and Slash conduit here, which has a chance to refund, and Depths of Insanity, if this works with the tier set, just like, the arms thing, and this is extending that 4-second rec every single time, we can get some insane synergy here, just going back and forth between a ton of Raging Blows and Rampages and keeping up that enrage window indefinitely, rec lasting longer. Not to mention, if Sinful Surge ends up, working really well once again, even with Fury, so we can extend out its Recklessness, I believe. God, I'm not going crazy, right? That could be a really good combo. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to Theorycraft too much on Fury right now. I haven't been playing a ton of it lately, so I don't want to talk out my ass on it. But anyway, if you enjoy talking about, this kind of content and stuff, please leave a like. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.